I think I'm entitled. You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Panicking. We never practice panicking. We practice going out neatly. Pardon me, fire. Look out. Pardon me, fire. Fire. Yes, pardon me, fire. We never do that. I don't know why we practice so much.
Well, there's one thing we know, and that's that the mainstream media and the sociopathic elite control freaks are losing the battle. But what concerns me the most is that they're becoming desperate. They may be crazy enough, such as to go ahead and use a nuclear weapon in South Carolina to instigate a war in Syria, or some form of disaster push us into World War III. So if there's one person I wanted to ask on what we could do to protect ourselves in such a scenario and protect our families, it's Dr. Edward Group from globalhealingcenter.com. He's joining us right now to talk about how to prepare yourself for any disaster, protect your family with some extremely free, inexpensive, cheap, excellent ways to protect yourselves. If there was some type of incident, and there's already Fukushima going on, so we already have to protect ourselves, but if there was a nuclear incident or threats of a nuclear war, what would you say is the best way to protect yourself from that and other disasters?
I mean, just considering the fact that we've had chemtrails and we've had Fukushima, which is going out of control right now. I mean, we're getting toxic iodine, iodine-31, which is radioactive iodine in plumes coming over, and it's raining in different areas. We're seeing in some areas a 48% increase in infant deaths right now. So, I mean, I think we're already in a situation right now where everybody in the world needs to protect themselves and should be protecting themselves. I mean, what happens is that iodine of those radioactive materials actually shut down the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland is your main immune system regulator, your hormone regulator, and it stops the thyroid from producing T3 and T4, which are the thyroid hormones. So there's a good possibility. I mean, we have nuclear power plants that are exactly the same as Fukushima along the East Coast, and there's been a lot of talk, just like you said, about a situation that might happen. If you look at the projected toxic effects of Fukushima in the Pacific Ocean within the next 10 years, it shows the whole ocean being contaminated with radioactive waste. So I think everybody, no matter who you are, you absolutely need to protect yourself against radiation, and not only radiation, but just how that radiation is combined with the other toxins in the air. And interestingly enough, who does radiation affect the most? It affects the babies, the pregnant mothers, which are severely iodine deficient anyway, and it affects the older senior population. Now, we've talked about in the past, and Alex and you guys have talked about the population control agenda, which is a major factor, considering the fact that you can create infertility, you can create sterility, you can kill off all the babies coming in, as well as kill off the senior citizens. So to keep it simple, I mean, there's lots of things people can do to protect themselves against not only radiation damage, but also harmful compounds such as fluoride and bromine. And the reason I bring those up, because when we talk about radiation, the thyroid gland, whenever you have excess fluoride in the thyroid gland, it fights, or other halogens such as bromine, they fight for the receptor sites of iodine in the thyroid gland. So iodine actually is one of the #1 things that I think everybody should have in their medicine cabinet at home. And don't just buy a little bit, stock up on it, because if there's going to be a disaster, you're talking about a worldwide shortage of iodine practically within the first 48, 72 hours.
Now let me ask you a question, though. You bring up a really good point here, that even though we're facing some type of nuclear disaster maybe, or a false flag or whatever, we're already facing massive amounts of radiation. We're already looking at chemtrails with these toxic materials. Our daily lives are a bombardment of disaster in some ways. And you talk about iodine. Now my thing is, I know the best form of it is nascent iodine. And I also know that there's the iodine that's FDA approved and stuff like that, that I wouldn't want to take even if there was a nuclear disaster in some cases. So what do you think is the best way to do it without destroying your body and your family?
Well, what you're going to get through the military or what you're going to get through the government is you're going to get potassium iodide tablets. Now, those potassium iodide tablets, you know, in a severe situation, they will work, but you got to remember that a lot of times those tablets are made with toxic fillers and binders and excipients. And not only that, the body has to take an extra step to break that potassium iodide down into a usable atomic form of iodine. That's why I recommend always going with a detoxified or a nascent form of iodine or an atomic form of iodine, which is going to be utilized practically immediately by the body. And that's going to neutralize and protect you from the damaging effects of the radioactive iodine, which is iodine 131. Now, you also have other toxic toxic ingredients that are being released, such as cesium, cesium-137, cesium-134, strontium, and some of the things that help detoxify the body of these other radioactive materials are bentonite clay. You know, that can be taken internally, or you can use bentonite clay with a Epsom salt bath. That has been used to pull out radiotrophic toxic compounds from the body. Zeolites, you know, I would always keep a bag of zeolites around too. I mean, you can buy those. You can look at OMRI-approved zeolite supplements online. Number one, like I said, is iodine. Number two, have some zeolites around. That's what they used in Russia. Also, the bentonite clay is a thing that I always use and keep around. Another thing that's really effective for detoxifying radiation is activated charcoal. If you look at the military suits, the nuclear biological suits, and if you look at the radiation filters, they all usually contain activated charcoal. Activated charcoal can be taken internally, and it's really good at absorbing radiation from the body, toxic radiation from the body. And then eating a very healthy, clean diet, you know, spirulina is effective, chlorella, the clean chlorella, any type of super green foods. Make sure that if you're eating any type of kelp or anything, though, it comes from North Atlantic and not from the Pacific Ocean where everything is already contaminated.
Definitely, but these are things also that you can utilize in your daily life, and that's kind of what this whole session is also about, informing people on what they can do now to protect themselves later. Because as far as I understand, I mean, nascent iodine you can take every day. I use bentonite clay. I put it on my face, and it just extracts toxic material from your body. I use zeolites on a daily basis, oregano oil. All of these things I'm using now to protect myself later. So I think it's better to be prepared now than to be freaking out and scared later to build up overall immunity. Because another thing is, Fukushima, for example, they'll deny all day long until their graves that Fukushima is perfectly fine and that we're not being blasted with massive amounts of radiation, even though the scientific community agrees that, yeah, we are. The tests show it down. They shut down the calculations for it all. So ultimately, it pays to be taking these things on a daily basis to be prepared sooner than later, not just to put it in your medicine cabinet for that day, but to start taking control of your health now is the ultimate survivability, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and that goes with all the degenerative diseases and everything that we're facing, with the amount of toxins that we're dealing with in the air on a daily basis, the amount of toxins we're dealing with in the water supply on a daily basis, the toxins that are consumed in foods on a daily basis, the toxins in beverages on a daily basis, all the microbes that we're exposed to every single day. All the, not only the harmful ionizing radiation, but also the electromagnetic radiation from cell phones and cell phone towers and everything else. The solution is to take a proactive approach and start detoxifying your body right now, because all these things affect your immune system, and they lower your ability to fight off degenerative disease and lower your ability to fight off cancer. So what everybody should do is do regular intestinal cleanses, because all the toxins ultimately enter through your intestinal tract, whether you eat radiated food or, depending on what you expose yourself to.
Definitely. Now let me ask you something. We're seeing so many victories Earlier I talked about how we essentially stopped Obama and his cronies from pushing us into World War III. Yesterday, I cut a video about the Monsanto Protection Act, which gives full immunity to Monsanto, and how we pretty much destroyed it with information last time, and we're going to do it again. We're just seeing so many sweeping victories for overall international relations, just protecting the people instead of the crony elite. We're seeing personal health freedom victories. Do you see us just absolutely overcoming the system and just beating this down through the spread of information with the rise of the real media in place of the phony, dead, decapitated mainstream media?
Well, I think that's the main goal. I mean, that's what we're all working towards. I mean, I think we're at a crucial point right now, and we're getting close, if we're not already there, to the tipping point. I think that there's just a real hardcore fight going on right now between the good and the bad, and who knows how far it's going to go. But one thing for sure is that people are becoming more educated every single day, and they're actually seeing it with their own eyes. They're starting to understand that, hey, I've been going to the doctor and I'm not getting better. Pharmaceuticals are not working. You know, what we need is we need to start releasing more free energy technologies, and we need to start demanding from the government more of the things that we're all into. And, you know, as time goes on, Anthony, I'm definitely seeing a change, and I think that people are seeing a change, and I'm hoping, just like you and everybody else, that we'll be able to live and see that day whenever we're able to have a government that doesn't approve chemicals and doesn't approve toxic pharmaceuticals and doesn't allow nuclear power plants and doesn't allow the production of carcinogenic chemicals and doesn't allow GMOs to be existent on the planet. And we have a planet that is clean and a planet that is, you know, producing with happy and healthy people. I mean, the thing with Fukushima, too, is we've had solutions for that. I mean, the Russians have developed, and not only the Russians, but high-tech scientists have developed ways to neutralize radiation fallout and radiation from spent uranium. And they've sent that technology over to Fukushima within 3 weeks of the time that the tsunami hit. And none of that technology is even being used. So
that's the sad reality of it. It's like we have these answers. We just need to inform the people. Everyone listening right now is getting it. They're absorbing this information. And I think we are seeing massive victories. That's kind of the overall theme of tonight. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of bad stuff going on, but at the same time, it's just distracting from how much we are winning and how much we are dominating this entire paradigm. And I think ultimately being prepared on an individual basis is also extremely empowering. And the sociopaths at the top absolutely hate that. So thanks so much, Dr. Groot, for expounding on this knowledge.
Feel it when you go to work, to church, or pay your taxes. It is the world that is being pulled over your eyes.
So Anonymous has decided to do something fascinating. This time they're not going to break into anybody's computers or get private information. They're simply going to give you public information. But it's actually really helpful public information that the mainstream media doesn't give you. It shows you the corrupt congressman and who's paying for their services. Very, very helpful. So they have targeted Dianne Feinstein, and these guys are all part of the people supporting the secret NSA programs. That's why it's called Op-NSA in this case, that Anons is running. They're targeting Dianne Feinstein, Dutch Ruppersberger, who are both Democrats, and Mike Rogers and Saxby Chambliss, who are both Republicans. This is just the beginning, right? They picked those four. It's bipartisan. And they all get money from these defense contractors, et cetera, and that's what they're going to show you. In fact, the ones that they get money from, they also have a list: Northrop Grumman, Booz Allen Hamilton, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics. And what they're doing is they're doing individual videos for these senators or their congressmen and saying, look, here's the real reason they're voting the way they are, because they get paid by these guys who then make a tremendous amount of money from these secret NSA programs and these defense contractors who make money from the whole military-industrial complex. Now here's a portion of their Saxby Chambliss video.
Greetings to you, Senator Saxby Chambliss, Republican Senator from Georgia. We are anonymous, and the time has come for a reckoning for your malfeasance as both a member of the Senate and as a congressional representative from Georgia's 8th District. Since the 2008 election cycle, you have accepted $840,816 in campaign contributions. or bribes from defense contractors and NSA collaborators such as Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Verizon Communications, AT&T, Raytheon, L3 Communications, and the Microsoft Corporation. In short, you are beholden to those that spy on us with drones, satellites, and our own private data, and it is clearly their interests that you are making your priority, not ours.
Now, we have no connection to Anonymous, but I love this program that they're putting together. Again, it doesn't violate any of the laws. All it does is show you what's in the public record. And isn't it so sad that Anonymous has to do this rather than the mainstream media, because they never, ever do it? They pretend they're honorable gentlemen who are voting based on principle, when in fact it was shown the people who voted to keep the NSA spying basically private, secret, and continue to do it against the American people, got paid twice as much as the guys who voted no on that same issue, okay? So, gee, what a wonderful coincidence that the guys that are getting money from the defense contractors at twice the rate are the ones who support those defense contractors and want to keep everything secret and want to continue spying in on American citizens. If the media isn't doing it, why shouldn't Anonymous do it? And they obviously do it in an eye-catching way. Now look, if you want to fight back and have a constructive solution to this problem, you know how to do it, right? wolf-pack.com. You go, and we've got an actual solution to this. It can be done. Every generation of Americans has passed an amendment to the Constitution. It's our turn. Don't feel helpless. Don't feel powerless, like the machine has won and there's nothing you can do against the establishment. Look, I love making this point because it's so true about how the odds were stacked against the suffragist movement. Women couldn't even vote. How in the world were they going to get the right to vote? But they got that amendment. They did it by banding together. We could do the same thing, an amendment to get money out of politics, so we solve the core problem that Anonymous is talking about here. So to go to wolf-pack.com, participate in any way you can. If all you have is 5 seconds to sign a petition, to click on that, great, do that. If you can donate, terrific, because united, we can do this. If you think we can't, well, then obviously we won't be able to. But if we unite together, it is eminently doable. You could do it through the states. You don't have to go to that corrupt Congress. You don't have to go to corrupt guys like Saxby Chambliss and Dianne Feinstein. If you want to be a member, that's even better. Join us at wolf-pack.com to solve the problem.
A top official from Tokyo Electric Power Company says he does not think the situation at Fukushima Daiichi is under control. His statement comes amid new concerns that radioactive water at the stricken nuclear plant may have reached the ocean. Leaders of Japan's main opposition are now demanding answers from the government, particularly the Prime Minister. NHK World's Masaki Otake reports.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe spoke with confidence before the International Olympic Committee.
Let me assure you, the situation is under control.
But a top TEPCO official appears to have contradicted his words. At a meeting organized by the opposition Democratic Party, Kazuhiko Yamashita said he does not believe the company is on top of the problems at the crippled nuclear plant. Yamashita said what's happening there goes beyond what TEPCO officials could foresee. 300 tons of radioactive water leaked from a storage tank at Fukushima Daiichi last month. Workers are still trying to determine how far that water has spread. Samples taken earlier this week from a location 30 meters from the sea showed 80 becquerels per liter of cesium-137. That's close to what the government says can safely be discharged into the sea.
Tokyo!
Prime Minister Abe's assurances on nuclear safety helped Tokyo secure the 2020 Olympics. Now Democratic Party Secretary General Akihiro Ohata says Abe should be held to his words.
Prime Minister Abe should fully explain to the people of Fukushima and Japan the reasons behind his declaration that the situation at Fukushima Daiichi is under control. He has to follow through on his promise.
DPJ President Baori Kaiyeda says he'll call on all opposition parties to cooperate and bring up the subjects at an extraordinary session of the Diet. But the Abe administration is playing it down. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga says he doesn't think the situation at Fukushima Daiichi is different from what the Prime Minister told the IOC. But others who visited the plant say the problems are severe. On Thursday, a U.S. plant expert who led cleanup efforts after the 3 Mile Island nuclear disaster said the problems at Fukushima Daiichi are far more complex than the U.S. plant. And with new information about the severity of the radioactive water leaks coming out every day, pressure is mounting on the government to deal with the issue. Masaki Otake, NHK World, Tokyo.
Engineers at Japan's crippled nuclear plant have made a worrying discovery. They've been digging into the ground at the Fukushima Daiichi site to try to track leaks of contaminated wastewater. They say a monitoring well near a storage tank contains sharply rising levels of the radioactive element tritium. Officials with Tokyo Electric Power Company reported the findings. They say the level of tritium in water samples from the well rose on Thursday to 130,000 becquerels per liter. That's more than twice the level at which Japanese nuclear plants are allowed to release water into the ocean. A storage tank leaked more than 300 tons of highly radioactive water last month. That water probably seeped into the soil. Engineers dug the monitoring well 20 meters from the tank and started taking samples of groundwater. The tritium level in those samples was 64,000 becquerels per liter on Tuesday and rose to 97,000 on Wednesday. Company officials say they suspect the water leak last month caused the increase, but can't be certain. They're also trying to figure out whether past leaks from pipes had any effect.
Officials with the Industry Ministry are trying to find a better way to deal with the growing amount of radioactive water at the plant. They're putting out a call at home and abroad for technology that could help. They decided on a plan on Friday during a meeting with scientists. They're seeking methods to build watertight storage tanks and quickly detect any leaks. They're also looking for ways to capture tritium. The new decontamination device that's expected to be built can't remove the radioactive element. Ministry officials say they plan to put an announcement on their website in November giving more details on what they require. The scientists advising them estimate that if no measures are taken, the amount of contaminated water at Fukushima Daiichi could increase more than 5 times to 1.7 million tons in 8 years.
One year ago, I took a ride on this very train line. Scars of the disaster lined the tracks. Students rely on this train to get to and from school. Elderly people really need it too. 12 months later, they have company. Moving from place to place isn't the only attraction. A local specialty, sea urchin, is served atop a bowl of rice. The food was unavailable right after the disaster. Now the supply is recovering and making its way on board. The event train is sold out every weekend. Residents are seizing the opportunity to show what the Sanriku coast has to offer. These female divers called ama work without oxygen tanks. They practice traditional fishing in summer, as their predecessors have for more than a century. Their main catch is sea urchin, the delicacy served on the train. Last month alone, 50,000 tourists visited the area. That's more than 20 times the number last year.
I was impressed by the depths the experienced divers reach. It's quite lovely.
The divers are committed to smiling for the visitors, but getting to this point has been a struggle, overcoming one hardship after another. Their base facility had just been completed in 2010. The tsunami of 2011 tore it to pieces. All that was left in the port was debris and dead sea urchins.
I kept thinking, what if another big quake comes? I was also worried about what kind of debris I might find in the sea. When I saw the port flattened, I felt hopeless. But after a while, I came around and realized doing something is better than doing nothing.
The women got back to diving several months after the disaster. These days, they're often joined by high school students, inspired by their example.
I hope to help reinvigorate my hometown. We lost many things to the disaster, but I feel we've gained something beyond what we lost.
NHK has obtained new information that suggests North Korean leaders may have restarted a mothballed nuclear reactor. Diplomatic sources say higher than normal levels of radioactive materials have been detected near the eastern coast of the Korean peninsula. The sources say readings taken by South Korean military personnel late last month show a spike in levels of radioactive xenon in the air. This week, researchers in the U.S. published their analysis of satellite images of the nuclear facility in Yeongbyon, North Korea. The images from the end of August show what appears to be white steam rising from a building near the reactor. The structure apparently houses steam turbines for power generation. The North Koreans disabled the reactor in 2007 under an agreement reached in the six-party talks on their nuclear program. Authorities in Pyongyang have recently shown more interest in holding international dialogue. But a senior U.S. diplomat points out they continue to assert their nuclear status. Glyn Davis says more work is needed before the six-party talks can resume. The negotiations have been suspended for nearly 5 years.
Apocalyptic trash. You might think it's bad, but the book is coming true, and it's happening here. The Build-A-Bear group, they think they're above the law. Their dirty secrets, well, they're secret no more. You might think it's cash, but the book is coming true, and it's happening here. Their banks are corrupt, enslave the world into debt, destroying nations while they reap the interest. And they manipulate wars to fill their pockets with oil. establishment quake. I wanna say I'm awake. I'm not afraid of that snake.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diane, and today is September 15th, 2013, and here are your news updates for today. The Watchers watching the world. Strong magnitude 6.0 earthquake near Andreflof Islands, Alaska. Also, new eruption of Sinabung forces more than 3,000 people to evacuate Indonesia. Alrighty, then moving on. Okay, the Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. Rain continues to fall in Colorado. 5 confirmed dead, 500 still unaccounted for. 10 dead whales wash up on Russia's northeast Chukotka coast. Scientists find potential catalyst for earthquakes on U.S. East Coast. Thousands flee Sumatra volcano eruption in Indonesia. Wow, heads up. A lot of volcano activity going on. Earthquakes and volcanoes. Excuse me. Heads up. I had to work today again. Sorry about that. We're running late because I'm uploading a lot of stuff. A lot of information for you guys. Takes quite a while. Alrighty then. Let's go into the breaking news. BreakingNews.com. Operation to salvage Costa Concordia shipwrecked off Italian coast delayed 2 hours due to overnight storm. Coming out of BBC World. Obama's healthcare plan remains highly unpopular as implementation looms, poll finds. Coming out of NBC News at WSJ. That was an hour ago. Now, with Obamacare, maybe we need to talk to Canada, because originally I thought universal health care, they add a little bit onto everyone's taxes across the board, just like when you buy a book. You'll see United States, U.S., if you buy it in the U.S., it costs maybe $5. You buy it in Canada, then it's like $6.50. Do you see what I'm saying? This is how this was supposed to go originally, I assume. Instead of making it so unpopular that we won't want it and stick with whatever's going on with these insurance companies, which we don't want either, really. It's not supposed to be supplementation. It's supposed to be across the board healthcare. And then for those who have more money, they can outsource and get a subsidiary insurance for catastrophic through a private insurance company. That's what you can do. If you think you're going to need extra insurance and you need to go to a private physician because you don't want to be on a waiting list, then that's what you do. It doesn't make any sense what's going on. They're just going to make this so messed up that you'll want to go back to the way it was, but the way it was, a lot of the health care, it wouldn't cover some things. The universal health care will cover it, and if you do end up on a waiting list, then what you should do is get subsidiary insurance if you can, because the other way people couldn't afford it either. The other way, the deductibles were too large anyway. This is just a program to subsidize insurance companies. This isn't right either. And to make it so bad that it crashes and burns and then we go back to the other thing and never want to leave it, that's baloney too. You can still have free market competition with extra insurance for those who have the money for it. But, you know, I don't know. It's very simple. Maybe we need to talk to our neighbors that are north of us and follow what they're doing. What do you think? We shouldn't have to worry about our health insurance. It's basically, it should be a right if we have the technology to healthcare, and that's just how it is. Alrighty then. And for the elitists and the ones that have more money, fine, get a subsidiary thing on top of what you have just in case. Get some extra catastrophic. You can afford it. Alrighty then. But this way that they're doing it, you're crashing the economy and everything else. Why can't we do it the way Canada does it? And leave the door open for extra on top of that, some subsidiary extra. You can get extra insurance if you want to pay more for it. If not, everyone's just a blanket coverage. And they should put dental in it too, because a bad tooth can kill you. What's up with that though? They should all, that's to Canada and everywhere else. They should include dental. Your mouth is part of your body. Am I wrong? Prove me wrong. Prove me that a tooth couldn't kill you. Alrighty then? It's ridiculous. What's going on? What's really going on? Bunch of baloney. And that's your free consultation. Yes, I have a master's in health administration. Alrighty then? Alright, there's your free consultation. Who are your consultants? Do you need? I gave you a free consulting right there. If you need more information, maybe you should contact me. Maybe I can set it straight on how this should be. It's not rocket science. Understand? It's a very simple. And it wouldn't all be falling apart. Alrighty then. It's not really hard to do. Major air rescue for Boulder County, Colorado foothills devastated by floods is planned for Monday. Coming out of the Daily Camera 1 hour ago. Typhoon Many strikes fears, should say strikes fears, but it says strokes fears for Japan cripple Fukushima nuclear plant. Coming out of AFP. Let's go over now. We'll go over to E&E News. Let's check that out. There's a typhoon going. AFP's reporting on. Let's see what's going on. I don't understand. Must be a bunch of fluoride heads running everything now. Is that what's going on? Weaponized fluoride, and that's what it is. So worried about chemicals? What about the weaponized fluoride that's in the water? That's bad for you. Why is that in the water? How? Everybody's got their nerve. Worry about other people? Other countries and whatever, you know, didn't Washington say mind your business and trust in God or something? Isn't that what he said? Mind your business. Let's get rid of the fluoride. I think that's like some kind of weaponized thing, isn't it? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. What's going on? Alrighty then. I'll tell you one thing that I noticed. I'm not saying it's right, but it seems to me all the people, like your talk show hosts, and all the people that are awake, have been, if not in the past, and it might have been in the past and some quit, but most of them are, they're smoking cigarettes, or somehow they're ingesting tobacco. You know, some kind, they're getting tobacco for some reason, and I think, I really do believe that That's the similarity. I should do a study on that. But it seems to me Alex Jones used to smoke. Even Obama smoked. It seems like the people that are awake, one time or another, they used to smoke. I was watching, wasn't Ground Zero? Who's that guy? I was watching, I was even on it. It was, Coast to Coast, and it's the guy that takes George Norrie's place at night. John, I think his name is. His name is John. But, he was smoking on an interview. It's incredible. I think there's something about that tobacco, the tobacco that kept people, it kind of like with all the chemicals in that, it kind of canceled out the other chemicals, or am I wrong? Something about that. I don't know. Not that it's good for you, but somehow the interaction kept those people from being asleep. It's weird. Alrighty then. It's just something I noticed I should do a study on. Let's go into Japan, Fukushima. Alright, E&E News. The energy news. Japan TV. Heads up, this is at 12:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 16, 2013. This is when it was posted. That's what's good about doing this at late at night, though, because sometimes they'll try to fly stuff by you and figure you won't see it in time. Japan TV. Typhoon presents significant likelihood of natural disaster of a magnitude observed only once every few decades. Around 500,000 households get instructions to evacuate. Waves over 30 feet high likely for Pacific coast. Heads up. Here we go again. Alright. A few minutes before midnight on September 15th. AFP. Government issues highest alert for possibly unprecedented heavy rains. Fears it will hit Fukushima nuclear plant. Torrential downpours expected. Kyoto. Major typhoon prompts emergency warning of unprecedented heavy rains. Also today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find that live cam over there and shoot some footage for it and keep an eye on it and see what's going on. Maybe I can, we'll get some footage on it and see what they're going to do. NHK. Trouble from heavy rain already at Fukushima. Fence over top at plant. That's how they talk. That makes sense. Workers trying to keep highly contaminated water in reactor basements and tunnels from overflowing. Oh, yeah, right. Now they're going to dump it all. Oh, here's a typhoon. Oh, it wiped it all out. It's going in the ocean. Want to bet? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. They're not going to go for it. Reports. Fears for Fukushima plant as typhoon now only a few hours away. This is at 5:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be ready. It's going on right now. I'm going to have to check it out. Officials warn of floods at site. Storm gusting over 150 kilometers an hour. Workers frantically pumping up water. Torrential rain to force more contamination into groundwater. Here we go. Japan Times. Fukushima may be inundated by typhoon on Monday. Center of storm forecast to pass over nuclear plant. The center of the storm forecast to pass over the nuclear plant. Over 15 inches of rain predicted in region. Flood and mudslide warnings issued for Pacific coast. Heads up. They didn't have to wait. They've had a bunch of 7s. This is going to be it. This is going to have to be it. It's going to take it all out. Bloomberg TV. Second disaster to come at Fukushima nuclear plant. Is Japan prepared if leaks widen and radiation rises? And it's been rising. It's been rising, man. Wall Street Journal. They appear to be losing the battle at festering Fukushima plant. Leaks sprouting above and below ground. Respond is frantic, desperate, and dangerously haphazard. Also, this is in the morning today. Fukushima reactor cores may have had melt through to China syndrome Let me read that again. This is how they talk. Fukushima reactor cores may have had melt-through to China syndrome and went into the Earth itself. Includes over 1,500 pounds of plutonium. I think it's more than that, isn't it? Includes over 1,500 pounds of plutonium. Also today, New York Times, Japan is clearly living in denial, says Fukushima investigation chairman. Oh, what about us here, New York Times? Plant recently took sharp turn for the worse. Nuclear experts doubt if melted fuel can be removed. And then, of course, yesterday, TEPCO admits to reporting false radiation levels for nearly 2 years at Fukushima. And are they arrested? Have they been indicted and arrested by an international court? They should be picked up right now, man. Why isn't it? Okay, they admit it. It's go ahead. You're just gonna let them sit there and do, you know, obviously they're useless. Maybe we can find something for them to do in prison. What do you think? What a travesty. Wow. Insanity. Let's go to U.S. Canada. It's probably going to talk about Fukushima again. Alright, here we go. U.S. Canada now says, prepare for Fukushima's economic consequences. Worst may be yet to come. Pay close attention to latest scientific data from plant. It could become even more tragic. Examine impact on rest of world. So, let's all do studies instead of doing something about it. Also today, report Fukushima radioactive plume will continue to hit shores of U.S. and Canada for many decades. Impossible to remove molten cores for hundreds of years, if ever. Flow of contamination from plant will be virtually impossible to stop. I know it's not. If you talk to Dr. Bill Deagle, why don't you guys contact him and hire him to take care of this? That's what I say. How come he's not being mentioned? He's giving all the answers. I gave you some answers, but you don't want to take it off the planet. Alrighty then. He says somehow to extract all the water and it somehow entomb it and give it, and it'll turn into some kind of type of crystal sarcophagus. You see, it'll crystallize somehow, and you can remove it. He says you can remove it. Why isn't anybody listening to the answer? Because they don't want to fix it. That's why. And it's not job security, because everyone involved in this should be arrested. Do you understand? And that's just one plant. What about all the other plants? Do you guys get it? What about all the other plants? This is just one plant that is going to devastate our planet. What about all the rest of them? Alrighty then. Stay tuned. I got all kinds of news for you. This is a long one. And I'll see you tomorrow on the flip side. Here's another consumer activist tip to save money. Never swipe your card at the gas pump. Go inside. Because when you swipe it at the gas pump, what it does is it puts a hold on the money. It actually puts a hold on like $100. Ask your bank. Everyone listening, ask your bank and prove me wrong. Most banks do it. You swipe your card outside. That's why when you're broke, and a little guy like me, he'll say, see cashier. Have you ever noticed that? You swipe your card at the gas pump. Oh, see cashier. See, they could hold $100 for a couple days. And now all of a sudden you got stuff bouncing before they return it back into your bank. Even though you only bought $20 worth of gas, they might hold and put aside $100 and just hold it. Maybe they'll get interest off of it or something for a couple days. And then they put it back in your account. But in the meanwhile, you just keep going with that card. Now you went to 7-Eleven and you went somewhere else and you bought some food, and you're not accounting for that 100 that you have swiped. Don't ever pay at the pump. Go inside. That's all I have to say. Or especially if you're, if you're tight on money, because then it won't do that. Alrighty then, please be safe and stay tuned to your local news. Things are going to get crazy, I think, with this Fukushima stuff. And I'll keep an eye on it, and I'm attaching a bunch of videos. See you tomorrow on the flip side.
So there's a woman by the name of Kathy Hutchinson. She is one of 2 paralyzed patients who are now being tested for robotic arms. And these robotic arms are basically manipulated by their own brains. It's a really incredible story. We have a video of this, and it's called BrainGate 2. Whenever you hear BrainGate, you think it's a negative thing. But no, don't worry, it's a great thing. And it shows Kathy Hutchinson manipulating the robotic arm. Let's watch.
Kathy Hutchinson is paralysed and unable to speak, but just by thinking she's able to control the movements of this robotic arm and drink her morning coffee.
Our idea is to bypass that damaged nervous system and go directly from the brain to the outside world.
The sensor is a tiny array of electrodes connected to a bundle of gold wires. It's implanted in the patient's motor cortex, the part of the brain that commands body movements. Eventually, the researchers hope to build an arm that works as smoothly as a real one and can cope with more complicated tasks like brushing teeth.
To see her with that robotic arm reach out and pick up that cup of coffee and serve herself that coffee for the first time in nearly 15 years, it was an incredible moment.
It's incredible story.
All right, I have several conclusions. One, robots, they're not just for Japanese sex robots anymore. Okay, so we're making progress. Number 2, it's over. I don't know what it is, but it's over, okay? No, the minute we can control things with our minds, we're gonna have Magneto, we're gonna have, we're gonna have everything. I mean, the dudes are gonna be coming in with drone strikes from their head. You're gonna be like, where is it? I don't know, it's the Magneto's head, right? No, it's over. I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing, I don't know if it's a bad thing. In this case, it starts good, but it gets twisted for evil later. I mean, come on, you think the Pentagon isn't gonna have a guy who's gonna have all that stuff in his head like, zap, nuke, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm curious to see if you can manipulate things from afar. So let's say you're just in the comfort of your bedroom and you're thinking about really, really bad things, right? You want to do bad things to like your enemy, or bad things to maybe he's not your enemy.
Okay, to your friend.
And you can manipulate, I don't know, some sort of robotic arm somewhere to do something.
Anna having fascinating thoughts here, bringing us back more into Japanese territory, apparently. Okay, anyway, of course we don't know the limitations now, but the limitations now won't be there probably in how many years? 2 years, 10 years, 20 years? So it's an amazing new future.
Yeah, I like focusing on the positives. The idea of giving someone who is paralyzed the ability to take care of themselves is just so great,
Your written law, California law, United States federal law, NRC to enforce. By law, have to have somewhere to put the cement fuel rods. They promised us they would have the cement fuel rods taken care of by 1976, then by 1982, then by 1985, then 1991. It's 2013, you still store them on site.